How can you deny God when prayers are answered all the time?
Sure. So let's kind of deconstruct that just a little bit.
For example,
give me an example. Sure.
My aunt, she had heart problems. She had congestive heart failure when she was 17.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
She was given 10 years to live. And when she was 33, even though it had been much longer than 10 years, they did the MRIs and CAT scans, and her heart was completely healed. And the only thing that had happened that the doctors could not say any other reason, that there was no medical reason. So the only reason it could be is that she had been prayed over many times.
Sure. So a couple things. Did she not get any medical treatment during that time?
She had medical treatment, but there's absolutely nothing that they did to reconstruct her heart.
Okay. So have you heard of Occam's razor, or the whole idea of Occam's razor?
We'll go over it for the listeners at home as well.
So Occam's razor is the idea that the most likely reason is most often the reason. I mean,
the reason that requires the least assumptions is the most supported by the evidence that you have.
Right.
So she was prayed for. So
if we're going to weigh these different, possible things that could have caused the healing, right? It could be spontaneous remission. Is a thing. It could be misdiagnosis.
It's not cancer, so
I
just go away.
I'm not a doctor. Right? I'm not. It could.
There are
have been,
other things that go into remission, although I don't know your.
It could have been misdiagnosis. It could have been a record-keeping error. It could have been something that went along during treatment that you didn't understand.
Or that.
And if we take the likelihood of any of those things and stack it up against the idea that a omnibenevolent creator of the universe that we can't see, smell, taste, hear, or touch heard you talking quietly over somebody in Macon, Georgia, and decided to interact
it's possible,
and then heal it?
To be imagined, though, because she went to so many different specialists to be seen, and it was over 18 years that she had been to different doctors, had many EKGs and MRIs and CAT scans. She'd been to the doctor many, many times, several different doctors, and they all gave her the same prognosis that she was going to die.
Okay.
So,
did you want to?
No, you go ahead.
On here. So, Jenny, is it possible that a person who is diagnosed with a terminally ill disease goes to their mosque and the people there pray, and without medical intervention, that person lives?
Sure.
All right. In that case, do you think that it would be the prayers in Arabic to Allah that healed that person?
Well, why wouldn't it be? Because it's the same God, isn't it?
Not to them.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
isn't the Arabic God and the Abrahamic God the same God?
Yeah, the Muslims do pray
so of course
to the
they
God.
Could. They could definitely go to a mosque and pray and get healed. Yeah,
right.
They definitely could.
Is the same thing possible if they go to a Hindu temple?
Or pagan worship, maybe?
I'm not really sure. I don't really know much about the Hindu, so I couldn't say if they actually do prayer for healing in Hindu. I don't write for one of those.
So, here, we'll do this. If there's a group of religious pagans, and then they do a sacrifice or something. I'm actually not very familiar with a pagan religion or religions, but we'll say that it's the same situation, but they do a chicken sacrifice.
Whatever
use the stereotype.
Well, I would say that they're probably just backwards because, after Jesus gave his life and he was the ultimate sacrifice, and they don't have to do animal sacrifices anymore. But I suppose that might still work.
All right, but what would cause that to work? Would that also be invoking?
Because you're still putting it in God's hands.
Well, but they're not praying to Jesus. If they were saying, name of healing God. Yeah. If they're saying prayers to a different God, would it be possible for a person?
Well, I guess it's still possible because, does God care what you call him as long as, you're still praying to the God? Maybe if he feels like it's still him, he'll still do it.
Yeah, so the point that
I don't know anybody, I don't know any pagans.
I don't know many practicing pagans either. So we have that in common. But the question that I was trying to get to was, is it possible for situations to arise where there's a group of faithful believers who believe that there was a healing action taken by God when there wasn't, right? So, for example, we know that there are misdiagnoses, right? Right. So even if we can, in a situation where a person was misdiagnosed and they went to church that Sunday and they got prayed over and then they went back to the doctor the following week and they were correctly diagnosed, wow, there's nothing here, right? The believers in that situation would say, oh, well, there was something and it was cured by God, even though in that scenario it was a misdiagnosis, right? Like that.
I mean, yeah, they could have mistakes, sure.
Yeah. So is it possible that the particular situation you're referring to is one of those? Even knowing that prayer works, I have something wrong with me. I broke my ankle, and then I went to the doctor, and they said, yeah, you broke your ankle, and then they prayed over me, and I was like, oh, it was a mistake to break my ankle. That's one thing.
Okay.
You're talking about 18 years of documented, problems with her heart.
Then they need to be in the newspapers. They should be plastered all over. I mean,
right? It is a miracle, that's for sure.
Well, I doubt it. Actually, that's what we're trying to say. So, can I actually jump in? Really?
Yes, please.
So, if you listened to what we were saying earlier, I was talking about a couple in Michigan. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I actually pulled up the article right now. Lansing, Michigan. This couple believed in the power of prayer. Their 3-day-old infant got jaundice, and they said, "We'll just pray over it. Right? We'll pray. God will heal them." The baby died, and
I don't believe in that because God only helps those who help themselves. So He wants you to take that baby to the doctor because He's going to guide the hands of the doctor to help that baby.
Or that doctor went to school for so long that they're doing their job. Right? I mean, we should probably give doctors a little bit of credit for doctoring. Right?
Well, to be clear, in the case that you brought up as an example, you were saying that doctors weren't involved in the healing part, right?
Which one?
Was it your mother or grandmother?
Aunt.
I'm sorry,
aunt.
Aunt.
I'm sorry.
I didn't say they weren't involved. I said she sought medical treatment.
Right.
I just said that there's nothing that you can do to heal a heart that has had congestive heart failure. There's nothing they can give you to make your heart whole again. I'm not sure if you know what a congestive heart failure is, but it's the walls of your heart have weakened and your heart has become enlarged. There's nothing they can do to reverse that. There is no known treatment.
There's no
other than to just
grinchifying of a heart.
As comfortable as you can, for the duration of your time.
Yeah, okay.
For it to be spontaneously, fixed, there has to have been something that happened.
No, go ahead.
It sounds like you're saying there has to be a cause to this, right? Something led to her being healed, and effectively what it comes down to is how can we determine what caused that?
Right.
And I am actually curious. I don't know how we could determine what the cause was.
Yeah, I mean,
so you're saying that, let me make sure I'm hearing you right. You're saying that just because it happened doesn't mean it was God.
Well, I'm saying a thing happened. Doesn't necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most intellectually honest.
But you're basically saying that we're attributing it to a miracle, but maybe it just happened.
That seems like a possibility.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And they most intellectually honest thing to do is say, I don't know. If you really don't know, say, I don't know, right?
I don't know.
Colloquially, when we talk about a God, right? We think of, living in the U.S., we think of the God as described in the Bible, right? Old New Testament, King James, ESV, NIV, right? That God, right?
Right. King James Version. Holla.
I've actually read King James more than I have any of the other versions.
Well, the NIV is... never mind.
That's the only version I read.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is that God?
Holla back, girl. Sorry.
That God, if that God exists, right? I mean, we're operating on the assumption that we're talking about the same deity, right? Even if we grant that this was something that's unexplained, right? And even if we went through the arguments of whether or not that specific God exists, what does it say about that God's character that they'll heal your aunt's heart but let a baby die? Or
I can't really speak to that because, she's not a very nice person sometimes, so maybe they should just go ahead and choose the baby.
Well,
I think Eric's question is, why would God have to choose?
I think it's because not everybody is praying or their soul's not right. I mean, when you pray, you have to pray in a certain way, and sometimes you get a yes, and sometimes you get a no, and sometimes you get a not right now. So if you're praying for a baby, maybe there's a reason why that baby is supposed to die. I don't really know. I don't think that's fair, though.
No,
I don't think it's fair. But at the point where we go, well, I don't know why this baby is dead, all right, or what that would accomplish. We've reached a point where we've said, well, I don't know what it is before, which is, well, I don't know how your aunt's heart was healed. And at that point we said, well, it was God's intention. And now we've reached a point where we say, well, I don't know what purpose the death of this infant serves. Are we justified in concluding, no, God intended for this infant to die?
I guess it depends on if you think it was God's will that the baby died or if it's God's will that the parents suffer.
Okay, well, so what I am hearing is that this turn of events is intended by God.
I think everything's God's plan.
Okay.
Yeah,
that actually is interesting. So if God has a plan for everything, then why do people pray to God to ask him to do something specifically?
Because he can change his plan if you convince him that it's the right thing to do.
Okay. Well, that's interesting as well, though, because if that's the case, then if it's God's plan for this infant to die and God can change his mind, then isn't there still a question of, okay, well, even if we're talking at the point where we're talking about a God, why would that be something that we could conclude was good or positive?
Yeah. Jenny?
Yeah.
Or Janet? So we have 6 minutes left until we are done with the show, and we have one other person that is on the line. I do definitely want to continue this conversation. You're absolutely welcome to call back next week because I really do want to flesh that out.
That's the thing we're doing with the show.
Yes.
Call back next week.
Okay, I will do some research then on my end, and I will call you back.
All right.
Dude, that sounds good. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for calling, Jenny, and sorry he called you dude twice just now.
Sorry. Sorry. I wasn't even, there's just...
you hung up on her, so she didn't hear that.
I didn't.
I was trying to joke.
I hovered over the drop button and she hung up.
Yeah, that got real heavy real fast. Yeah, dead babies really bring the mood down. Well, they just weigh you down. Look.
All right, look, we got 6 minutes left and I want to get to this person.
If you're trying to get somewhere, chuck the dead babies out the trunk. They're just dead weight. That's it. All right.